Hello, and welcome back for another episode of the Resting Stitch Face podcast. I'm your co-host, Dr. Sarah Harding, along with
Dr. Erin Sheffield.
Hola.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We are really excited to talk about this topic today. Healthcare is built on trust. So what happens when patients hear completely different stories from different dentists or doctors? Today, we're talking about cavitations, customer service, and where evidence, experience, and expectations collide. So I know we've touched on particularly the cavitations topic kind of here and there in the past, but I think it's something that's getting so much traction online, and I thought it'd be kind of fun and helpful to chat about more.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't quite understand why it's getting so much traction online.
I wish it weren't.
Well,
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I think that it's just something different. And I think that people just have a general distrust of the dentist.
Yes.
And nobody likes a root canal. Nobody likes an extraction. And now it's like, see, that's why I didn't like it. It's because it was causing my meridians to be inflamed,
Exactly. So. I think that's true. So I was just looking this up. This is what Google AI says, so who knows if it's true, but I like the idea behind it. Misinformation spreads about 6 times faster and reaches far more people than the truth, taking roughly 10 hours to reach 1,500 users compared to 60 hours for factual stories. So it's so interesting. I think that people want to believe these things. There's definitely incentive for some reason, whether it's just like a dopamine hit in our brains. And when you have had experiences at the doctor or the dentist that have been unpleasant and you don't want to pay to get that stuff done, it's so nice to have someone who seems legitimate giving you excuse. See, you don't have to do that. See,
Right.
They were wrong all along. See, they were predatory and taking advantage of you.
Yes. But on the contrary, now it really seems like, see, all those things, you were right about all those things. Now come and give me tons and tons of money to fix it, and with ways that aren't really proven.
That's what I don't understand. So this is so funny. Yesterday in my clinic, I had a patient come in, and they were a patient of my partner who had taken out wisdom teeth like 9 months ago. And they were saying, he keeps having swelling. He keeps having swelling in the area of the wisdom tooth, and we don't know what's going on. And
which happens sometimes, right? Like if there's something going on.
And so he's like a healthy young guy. And so I'm like, well, let's get a cone beam CT scan. That's what they always get for the cavitations, right? They're not the only ones getting those. They always act
sorry, I'll touch on that in a little bit. Okay.
They always act like we're the only ones getting this special x-ray. And it's like, I would say most dentists have this technology in their office to begin with. But I got a cone beam and I'm looking at it and I'm like, boy, I'm not really sure what's going on here. And the bone looked kind of funny where the wisdom tooth had been. So I'm looking at the x-ray and there's like kind of a scooped out appearance where it's been healing and hasn't filled in all the way. And again, I wouldn't really worry about that, but I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. Maybe the cavitations thing, maybe there's something to some inflammation from the healing. Yeah. Maybe this is it.
Yeah.
And then I go in and see the patient, and it was so obvious clinically. He has unerupted second molars. So partially erupted on the bottom, completely impacted on the top. So he's got pericornitis. He's got pus pouring out from the soft tissue from the inflammation. And so these are basically third molars 2.0, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is. It's not some cavitation or some crazy. This is obviously what it is. But I was thinking this would be my chance to sell this, right? So I'm like, it's always asymptomatic, it sounds like. And to get people to agree to asymptomatic treatment that you can only see on a special x-ray that you have to pay extra for in the first place to get and to go through the radiation when you're a wellness person that probably doesn't like the radiation, to then convince you to spend not just like a couple $100 like we would for a normal surgery for this kind of thing, but spend thousands, 10,000. Yeah. So this was my chance. And then the mom said something golden. If I were a holistic dentist, she says, well, like, would you get all of them out or just this one? Because I know how important the teeth and the wisdom teeth are because they're so connected to the whole body. And
they are. I mean,
that's the thing they always say, right? Like, it's connected to the trigeminus, and so it's so important. And so I just said, I am all for like non-traditional medicine, Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine, all of those things. Are you talking about like meridian lines or something like that? They said, yeah, we are. I said, well, I kind of feel like any advantage your liver, your kidneys, or whatever is connected is getting from that is probably negated by the infection and the inflammation pouring from this tooth. But I mean, that's the mentality. And it was just kind of funny to me that, this is the conversation we're having. Luckily, maybe the rural Midwest, we're not really focused so much on these TikTok topics, but they're definitely coming our way.
Yeah.
And
I'm
lost
actually really
opportunity.
surprised that you had that conversation.
If I had some Ozone, I would have been like able to make the sale pretty hard, probably.
Yeah. You just need a centrifuge. You got to start doing PRF,
Yeah.
That can be your bridge.
I can support that. I mean, at least that's evidence-based.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think when you said that about the radiation, that was when all of this came out, that was one of my biggest things, because it was like, we are holistic dentists and we don't like to do things to the body that are unnecessary and all of this stuff. And I'm like, but you're getting an CBCT. So it's not a ton of radiation, but it's additional radiation for an asymptomatic issue.
Yeah.
So that you can look at it and point out things that are normal anatomy and make yourself a case for why you should be doing this excessive treatment. And I'm like, but I don't understand, because your first thing is that you're, doing nothing unnatural, but you're increasing or introducing this extra radiation that's unnecessary in the first place.
Right.
So,
well, and where do you draw the line between what's natural and holistic and not? Because metals are so bad. Metals are natural, aren't they? We're so afraid of metals. We're so afraid of titanium. We have to do ceramic implants, things like that. And yet we're doing composites. Well, composites are basically plastic. Let's talk about microplastics and the chemicals, the many chemicals we have to use to even get them to bond and all of that. So it just seems a little inconsistent and kind of unusual to me.
Yeah, it does to me too. Yeah. And I think one thing that I've found is difficult is I almost just want to go and sit in on a consultation or go in for a consultation, because I don't understand how you can talk people into this. Like, I literally have a hard time telling people, because now I'm in a pediatric practice, right? And just saying like, yeah, now's a great time to get your wisdom teeth out. And I'm showing them exactly where the nerve is and their incomplete root formation and how it's like sitting right on the nerve. And these third molars are tucked up in the second molars and they're not going anywhere, but the roots sure are.
Yeah.
And, and I point all of this out to them and they're just like, I just don't know if it's time. I just don't know if it's the right time. And I'm like,
I just told you it's the right time. This is the best time.
Or is my insurance going to pay for that? And I'm like, well, no matter when you do this, your insurance will never cover 100% of your wisdom tooth extraction. I mean, maybe there's some insurances that do, but very few and very far between. And so it's like, we can take it out now and avoid, pain and suffering later, I guess. Or we can wait and still it's going to cost more then, because prices always go up. And you're probably if you're going to wait until it's an issue, then there's going to be other issues too. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I just don't know. Like, I don't know how is the best way to talk to people because I feel like they think I'm selling them a service instead of taking care of them.
Right.
And I'm not. I'm the worst freaking salesman. I can't sell. I mean, dude, I would be like, you know what? You do need a car. Let me help you get that car, right? I mean, I just suck at it. And so, I mean, it's bad. Here's an example. I think I might have told you this before. My first job was Cracker Barrel, and they always tried to get me, the manager lady, they always had this thing they were trying to push. And one day it was those nasty orange circus peanuts. And I was like,
that's the big push thing.
And I was like 17 at the time, right? And I'm like not into wellness or any of this stuff. And I'm like, no, those are disgusting. And I cannot in good faith tell people that they should spend their money on that, because it's gross.
Oh my gosh.
And like put my foot down because I'm like, no, I can't stand for that.
She like even the ethics, you're so blessed and ethical, you can't even sell candy you can't get behind. Well, the frustrating thing to me, and I think to all of us, is kind of the heart of what you said already. It's so hard to get people to trust us and to take the leap for treatment that is actually beneficial or sometimes even very necessary. Like sometimes even they're like in pain and still don't know if they want to do it or still don't want to use the finances or come up with the finances or take the time or whatever it is. And yet these people, I will call them grifters. Let's just be clear, straight out about my opinion on them. They have no qualms about preying on that. And then it's not just what does it cost to take out a third molar? Probably like $500. But then we're hearing about cavitation prevention, third molar removal by a non-surgeon.
Right.
Who probably takes 3-4 times as long as I do, which that's going to cause problems surgically post-op and everything. And they'll charge you $10,000-$11,000 without batting an eye. And the patients are like, please. And you see the messages on these videos, say cavitation or holistic dentistry. And it's just like hundreds of comments, cavitation, holistic dentistry, cavitation, holistic dentistry. And then people, like one comment I read was someone was like, I had my wisdom teeth out and I regret it so much because I'm having heart problems or my kidneys or I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I'm trying to save up my money to come see you from Europe because I'm just having all these problems and I know you're the only person that can help me. And like, wow.
Yeah.
That's really hard for me to swallow. And that's why, I've been kind of calling them out because it's predatory. It's preying on vulnerable people who are willing to do whatever it takes to be well. And that's really sad.
Do you think that they get sued more? Because then what happens if your kidney issues don't get better? Or do you think it's like placebo? What do you like? I think that's what I don't really understand because I've had plenty of patients that get mad because they were having headaches. And I always say, like, I will take out your wisdom teeth. That may not solve the problem. Right? But I do know that you have a baseline level of inflammation based on the look of these wisdom teeth and the gingiva around them and all of the stuff, that maybe that's contributing, but I can't say that that's causing it.
I don't know. It seems like they just get away with things unchecked that we aren't maybe comfortable getting away with. I mean, I am hearing there have been lawsuits, et cetera, and I'd love to hear more, learn more about that. But yeah, it just seems like they're getting away with crazy stuff that we could never consider. It's wild. And I just don't like that preying on it. And you'd sent me that video about a woman who got pregnant 2 weeks after her cavitation surgery. It's a miracle. And as an IVF mama and someone who dealt with infertility, that's like where I really draw the line.
Yeah.
Like there is not a more vulnerable, desperate population than the IVF mama,
No.
So, and you could say whatever you want. And I was on the back end of that a little bit. Maybe I've told this story already, but my husband was friends with a woman who was selling essential oils.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I heard you're trying to get pregnant. Here are some essential oils your wife can try. So we kind of joked around and tried them every once. I put it on like maybe 3 times. The ironic thing is when you were going in for your embryo transfer, you are not allowed to wear anything scented. Like you can't even wear deodorant.
Yeah.
Because that can harm the embryo. So it's kind of very antithetical to essential oils for how I'm getting pregnant.
Right. And that's what Natalie Crawford was talking about, was all of the endocrine disruptors, and all of the scents are like, not all of them, but a significant portion of scents are endocrine disruptors.
Yeah. So you're not even allowed to wear them when you go in and have that done. And then as soon as I was pregnant, she was posting all over the internet the doTERRA, and I was pregnant with triplets at that point. The doTERRA triplets, which I don't think that's good marketing because I don't know that many people that are like, wow, I want triplets.
Yeah.
But, that, I mean, it
not
works
only
threefold.
fertile, but like super fertile.
Right. So, but I thought that was so interesting to just market and capitalize on that, especially knowing how much pain and difficulty we'd gone through to get pregnant. And yep, it was a doTERRA. It had nothing to do with the 5th embryo transfer I'd done and the hundreds of shots I'd given myself. It was the essential oils, I am sure.
For sure.
And then even a year later, she was posting pictures like the doTERRA twins turned 1, Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
So go ahead.
I think that it goes back, we were talking a little bit before about why dentistry is treated as and my husband and I were talking about this last night. Like, I am not a retail store. I am not a restaurant. We in the Navy even, I used to joke because people come in and start like demanding things. I'm like, did you see the Burger King sign when you came in? Like, did you see it? Did it say have it your way?
Have it your way
Right?
dentistry. That's what I've
Yeah.
been saying for years too.
And like, I just can't understand how we have fallen into this trap of customer service, which I think is super important, right? Because I think that being in a place that is a vulnerable place, it is so important to recognize the importance of customer service and the importance of making your patients feel comfortable, feel welcome, feel like they have some control, because it is a really vulnerable position to be in. And so I understand that. But when it comes to you're coming to me because you have a medical issue and you want me to negotiate with your insurance company that you chose that plan for whatever reason you chose, but you want me to now work with your insurance company to get you a discounted rate on my services that never were discounted in obtaining them.
The tuition
Right?
discount. Yeah.
I mean, sure, I didn't pay tuition, but I did spend 12 years of my life in service to the United States of America and the Navy
Thank you
in
for your
order to
service.
be here so that you can ask me why your insurance isn't paying for it. Right? And I don't know. I don't like insurance.
I don't know. I try not to know.
And I'm like, we're talking last night and I'm like, I just don't even understand. Like, I think we all just need to stop taking it, or just say, like, I'm out of network and you can figure out how to do it. And it's so interesting. And Stephanie Reeder and I were talking yesterday about this, because it's like, why have we tricked ourselves into doing hiring? Now we have to have a person in the office that is paid more than everybody else in the office to sit on the phone with the insurance company on hold, and to get no answers from them on your behalf, because you don't know what your plan is entitling you to, or how much you've used, or what your explanation of benefits will say, or what is covered and what is not covered. And they tell us, sorry, I guess you'll just have to wait for the explanation of benefits to come out so you'll know if it's covered or not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I'm not going to go to the grocery store and then tell you that my friend who knows groceries is going to tell me how much I should pay for this, and then they'll cut you a check.
Well, and even in medicine, I feel like it's not quite the same. I've had times where, you're pretty healthy, but maybe it'd be helpful to do some labs. Should we do some labs? And I'm like, well, do you really think I should? Yeah. Why don't we? And then you show up to the lab and you get poked, and I don't have to complain and tell people how much I hate getting poked for that. It just happens. And then 6 weeks later, I get a $1,200 bill for labs that I didn't probably even need, that we just decided, why not? And then I'm just like, darn, that was $1,200. And that's the end of it. But
Yeah.
at our office, it's like, that was $50 more than you said, when you fall into a huge MO turns into MODBL.
Right.
Carries excavation or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even beyond the financial side too, is just this idea that you get to dictate treatment. I remember dental school interview, this patient says they want to have all of their teeth out, but you don't think they need to. What do you do? And that's an ethical screening question they had on the interview, because you don't get to just do whatever the patient wants. It's not a hair salon. It's not Dillard's where we can order that size in black and have the tailor adjusted to you. We can only offer what you need and what's ethical. Well, you and I tend to only do that. Some of these
Right.
people don't, but
Yeah.
it's not really a patient service or customer service model because it's a patient care. And that's tricky. And I think so much in dentistry we discount. We're so afraid of the bad review. We're so afraid of losing a patient that
Yeah.
we twist ourselves in circles. And if you go on any of the
Yeah.
Facebook dental groups, like the questions people ask, like, what should I do? This crazy patient's demanding XYZ or this. And I kind of feel like, let them, one bad review, but
Yeah.
it's so easy. Well, just give it to them for free. Just make them go away. I hate that.
I hate that too. And then the other point is that I've seen popping up more and more on social media is that patients have full reign. They can go on to Yelp or whatever and write whatever they want to do, but HIPAA binds our hands behind our back, and we are not even allowed to say, like, that we cannot even acknowledge that that patient was a patient of our practice or
Right.
not, right? You know what I mean? Like, or you can say, like, based on the name, this is not a patient of record. But they can just totally demolish you and you can't say anything because you can't defend yourself because then that's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
And it's just this weird, like, conundrum. You know what I mean? And
Right.
truly, when I was talking to my front desk gal yesterday, she was asking about treatment plans and this kind of thing. And I said, I'm super conservative. Like, if there's something additional that we might do, I'll talk with the patient about that. But unless they're in my chair and they agree that they want to move forward with that, I will not put that on the treatment plan. Like, my treatment plans are all going to be pretty, like, straightforward, like, not anything additional that they don't need. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know how to convey that to patients that and I say this, like, I'm not going to do anything that I wouldn't do on my own children if that was who was in the chair. And, like, it's true because I still have to go home to myself at night. I still have to go and look in the mirror at night. I still have to take care of my own children at night. And if I knew that somebody else was treating my children differently than they would treat their own, I wouldn't handle it. I wouldn't be able to handle that, And so I don't know how I can convey that any better, because I always feel like I'm trying to sell them and I'm not going to sell you on a damn thing. I'm not. If you don't want to do it and you don't want to do it with me, then okay. It's kind of like Brady Smith was talking about, like, you're going to come back and you're going to have more pain and more issues, and that's up to you, right?
Right. I remember in residency or maybe even dental school, you'd get patients who would be mad, and it seems like they're always Medicaid patients, and they would have like a $3 copay. And as a resident, I'm not getting paid on volume or production or
You're
collections
actually
or any
paying
of
to be
that.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So I
You're
remember
paying
they'd
more
be
to be there
like,
than they are.
I get mad and they'd be like, well, I'm taking my business elsewhere. And I'd just be like, thank you. One less thing for me to do in this busy day.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
it
different
always
when
hurt my
you're
soul,
running a practice. I know.
you know?
Yeah, I hear you. So let's pivot a little bit. So again, we're kind of talking about something that stimulated just from a lot of the online chatter that we've been seeing. And I had another friend who's a content creator, dental content creator, Rochelle Beebe. If you don't follow her, give her a follow. 'Cause she's amazing. But she called me yesterday and was like, "What is with dentists? Like, are dentists the biggest arguers around?" She said, I don't post much content for dentists. Almost all of it's patient-facing content because I hate getting into it with dentists. Instead of just being able to bring up and, debate and disagree, we have to like make it personal and nasty. And she was kind of bothered by some guy that kept leaving me multiple comments arguing on a post about something that wasn't really even super high yield for the post itself. She's so funny. So she like went and looked this guy up and she's like, people are dumb online. Like, we can find you in your practice. And then she's like, I'm so petty that I went to his page and then I just started leaving hearts and liking everything and leaving like supportive comments. So I thought that was hilarious that
I
was
love
like
that.
her way of kind of getting in the last word. But I think it brings up a good point. Like, do you think it's dentistry or is it just across the board? Because I've definitely seen it. You post something and it's just your opinion. It doesn't even have to be inflammatory. And man, not only do people
Yeah.
start commenting and debating, but like the insults fly.
Yeah. I've seen it on, that app House or whatever, even on like Facebook groups where people are doing construction or home remodeling stuff. I've seen it on there too, where somebody will post something and then somebody else is like, this is crap work, blah, 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 blah. Or they'll like go into a house and see, things that aren't great and they'll be videoing it. And I think it's good to alert people of red flags, like if you're remodeling your home, like, hey, if you're seeing things like this in your remodeled home, like maybe ask a few questions.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but it's almost like it's that customer service industry competition as opposed to
Yeah.
community. Like we can all build each other up or we can all tear each other down. And just like who was it that we were talking to when we were saying, like, when you have, oh, it was Natalie Crawford again. When people are tearing you down online, two professionals, can you imagine how that patient or that other doctor is talking to their patients? Like, how can we?
Right. Or how does that change the patient experience seeing your
Right.
dentist on there, like being a big
Yeah.
arrogant jerk? Like, I don't
Yeah.
think people always think about that sort of thing. And on the flip side, then I was getting people accusing me because I'm calling some of these people out. I'm like, how dare you speak about one of our colleagues in that way? And I try to be careful. I don't like to call out people or to make judgments of their care or their practice. I try to be pretty open minded. But when you're preying on patients, I'm happy to call out. But it's funny, there's not really an argument that they'll accept because it's always just you're closed-minded or you're the conspiracy of like big dental and how dental school just teaches you wrong. And if you don't know this stuff, you're just uneducated or miseducated. So
Yeah.
you're not really changing opinions by arguing, but it's amazing how much arguing likes to happen in the comments. And
Yeah.
dentists love it. I think someone posted recently also, Dr. Nick, I don't know if you follow him, but he made a video about like dentists hate each other. The way they talk to each other online is so mean and unsupportive. And I thought that was interesting and maybe kind of the same idea. I also think a lot of the stuff he posts is pretty rage baity. So he
Yeah.
kind of inflammatory, kind of brings it on himself. But yeah, I think it's hard enough to be a dentist. We get enough comments, we get enough hate, we get enough people that don't like us, don't trust us, think we're scammers, etc. It would be nice if we could have each other's backs a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that the landscape has changed significantly because even I went to lunch with an oral surgeon here in town and he said, you know, things have changed so much since I started out. When I started, there was just a couple oral surgeons in town, and all of the people that referred to me were my buddies, and we hung out and was friends with the other oral surgeons, and you kind of knew the landscape and you knew what was going on with everybody, and
Yeah.
if somebody was having a problem, others would rush to help and help cover the practice, and it was a very collegial landscape. And now I feel like we've gotten so because everybody feels like they have to be so busy all the time, and you have all of this staff that you have to pay and all of this fancy, expensive equipment, and you have to have the new thing that nobody else has. So you can't really talk about it, but you want to talk about it, but you can't tell anybody else about it or teach them how to use it or tell them how it's benefiting your practice or how it could
They'll be
benefit their
on to
practice.
you. Yeah.
It is insane. It's insane.
I'm really of the mindset that if you're doing a good job, you'll always have enough patience.
There's
And the
always enough patience to go around.
competitiveness. And even if you're the best surgeon in town, there might just be someone that prefers the other guy. It's their best friend's uncle, or they have lavender infusing in the waiting room. Like there's so
Right.
many different
Yeah.
things, and everyone appreciates different approaches, and there's someone for everyone. And so I think when we get threatened and upset by other people, it's just kind of silly. I think there's enough to go around. And if you're in a place that's that competitive, maybe you want to come somewhere like Quincy, Illinois, where you just
Right.
hang your shingle and people show up because they're just so grateful to have that access to
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. But I think our desire to be liked is inhibiting our ability to be liked, right? Because
100%.
it's counterintuitive, and it is just
It's because
not everybody's going to like you. That's
people
okay.
pleasing isn't really about pleasing the people. It's about pleasing your discomfort. And I had an episode with someone recently where they're one of the biggest people pleasers I know. And instead of just directly communicating with me, they just kind of stopped doing the job that I expected them to be doing. And then it was like, well, I didn't want to make you mad or something. But it's like, well, I would have much preferred you just say, hey, I'm kind of done doing this job at this date. Is that okay? And I would have said, absolutely. But instead of letting everything fall by the wayside, that didn't please me. And it didn't please them either. It didn't get them the result they were wanting. And so I think it's funny how we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. We're trying to please everyone and we please no one. So really being authentic to yourself and being willing to have uncomfortable conversations that probably most of the time actually go just fine.
Yeah.
Goes a long way. But the things that we do, the self-sabotage, etc., all just so that we don't have to have that discomfort in our brain of what might happen when we have the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I feel like we've probably solved a few of the world's problems today. What do you think?
I mean, if people would listen to us more, the world would be a lot better place. So like, share, and follow.
Yes.
Make sure you don't miss the next episode of the Resting Situations podcast, because dropping all of the truth bombs, world solving.
Yeah. And I'm actually really
Solutions.
trying hard to get a holistic dentist on here because I really want to talk to them. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's fair to sit here and say all of the things that we say without giving them a little bit of space to talk and having actual good conversation, because I think that that's so viable and people clearly are choosing them.
Clearly. Yeah.
And so like I love to learn from other people. I love to hear things. I love to even just chat, you know what I mean? And so
yeah. So if
we would
anyone
love
wants to come on.
Yeah.
Well, I agree too. I mean, there are some things that I agree with what they're doing. I love the idea of systemic whole health care and dental care being part of that. But when you're taking it a little too far, I hope they believe it. I hope to my core that they really, really believe it. Because if they believe it and they're selling it, then that's a different philosophy. But a lot of times it seems like it's a convenient thing to half believe and to sell to people. So yeah,
and I'm sure there's a spectrum of it as well. I'm sure that there are some that, are this like whole hog, like the whole shebang. And I'm sure that there are some that use ozone as an adjunct part of their traditional treatment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they don't use any amalgam and whatever else. Right.
Right.
But I think that there's a spectrum. And so I think it's not necessarily totally true that they're all, quacked out.
Yeah. And I think how you present it is one thing too. Hey, we've got this ozone therapy. We don't have a lot of research behind it, but it seems like it's really working for our patients. It's one extra thing we can do to potentially improve your patient experience. I'm all for that kind of thing. Like, it probably does help. Maybe it does. But when it's a fear tactic, if you don't do this, this will happen, unproven claims, that's where I run into trouble on those things. So I think there's so much we don't know. There's so much research still to come out.
Yeah.
But to position yourself as a preeminent leader, the only one that knows these things, everyone else is getting it wrong, when there's literally no science to support it, that's where I run into an issue, and they could do better. So
yeah.
All right.
Do better.
Well, do better. All right. Well, I got to run and get my kids to the regular dentist, not the holistic dentist.
Yes.
We will be skipping all of the extra treatments, and hopefully they're systemically prepared to get a couple fillings today.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us on this episode. And as always, like, follow, and share, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later.
Bye.